McLaren. When everyone in the paddock is scratching their heads trying to figure out why McLaren can run lap after lap at qualifying pace while everyone else's tires fall off a cliff, you know they've found something special. The MCL39 has one advantage that's worth its weight in gold: the ability to keep tires in the optimal temperature window for an entire race stint. In Miami 2025, Lando Norris built a 38-second gap over the field, not because the car was that much faster on one lap, but because it could reproduce that pace every single lap. The secret appears to be phase change materials. These are specialist compounds that absorb massive amounts of heat without getting hotter themselves once they reach their melting point. Think of an ice cube in your drink. It stays at 0 degrees while it melts, soaking up thermal energy. McLaren likely uses these materials in their brake drum covers to prevent heat from the brakes transferring into the wheel rims and tires. Red Bull started using thermal cameras during pit stops and discovered McLaren's brake drums were running significantly cooler than rivals. This isn't active cooling. No electronics, no moving parts, nothing prohibited. Pure materials science. In hot races where tire degradation is brutal, McLaren's advantage multiplies. Helmut Marko estimated their edge at nearly a second per lap in the heat. Toto Wolff acknowledged that McLaren demonstrated superiority on every tire type. The beauty of this advantage is consistency. It works on every compound, every track, every temperature. McLaren doesn't hope for specific conditions. They just execute. For a team that spent years in the midfield, this breakthrough propelled them to dominance. They won the 2024 Constructors' Championship and 5 of the first 6 races in 2025. The competition is scrambling to catch up, but this requires specialized materials, science expertise, and extensive testing. Not something you copy overnight. Red Bull. Here's the irony that defines Red Bull's situation. They dropped to 3rd in the 2024 Constructors' Championship, losing their dominance. But that failure handed them a weapon. Under F1's aerodynamic testing restrictions, teams get wind tunnel time based on championship position. Finish lower, get more development time. Red Bull finishing 3rd means they gain an additional 96 wind tunnel runs in the first half of 2025 compared to McLaren. That's massive. Every run is a chance to find performance and validate concepts. Technical director Pierre Wache stated it's potentially a big advantage for 2026. The question is how to split that advantage. Fix the RB21 for 2025, or invest everything into 2026 when regulations change and they debut their first in-house power unit. The smart play is both. Stay competitive now. Bank the majority for 2026. Because whoever gets regulation changes right first usually dominates for years. But there's a catch. Red Bull uses the oldest wind tunnel in Formula One, over 70 years old. Christian Horner called it a Cold War relic. Correlation between tunnel and track isn't as accurate as needed. Verstappen noted the tunnel sometimes can't see finer details. The good news, Red Bull's new wind tunnel is 3 months ahead of schedule, planned for 2026. Extra time in an old tunnel now, then transition to cutting-edge facilities for next-generation development. If executed perfectly, 2026 could mark another Red Bull era. Ferrari. It has something no other team can replicate, their own private racetrack right in their backyard. The Fiorano circuit sits less than a kilometer from Ferrari's Maranello headquarters. It's a figure-of-8 layout with corner diameters ranging from 370 meters down to 13.71 meters, allowing Ferrari to simulate different Grand Prix circuits. And it's completely private. Modern regulations heavily restrict F1 testing. Teams get 3 days of preseason testing, but Ferrari has Fiorano for shakedowns, promotional events, demonstration runs. Lewis Hamilton's first laps in a Ferrari happened at Fiorano. That wasn't official testing, but it was seat time, learning systems, building familiarity. In 2001, an irrigation system was installed to simulate wet conditions. Ferrari can test in artificial rain whenever they want. Michael Schumacher used Fiorano relentlessly during Ferrari's dominant years. Those unlimited testing days are gone, but the track remains. And there's another advantage. Ferrari finished 4th in 2025, granting them extra wind tunnel and CFD time for 2026. They get 340 hours in the Maranello wind tunnel, translating to 272 individual aerodynamic runs. That's 48 more runs than McLaren had. At the start of a new regulation cycle, this could be decisive. Ferrari gets more development time than the top 3 teams, plus a private track for validation work. It's infrastructure that can't be copied because it requires being Ferrari in Maranello with 70 years of history already built in. That combination of testing access and development time positions Ferrari uniquely for the 2026 reset. Mercedes. It has a problem that's also a strength. The W15 and W16 are absurdly fast when it's cold and painful painfully slow when it's hot. Mercedes' 4 wins in 2024 came at Silverstone, Spa, Austria, and Las Vegas. The average track temperature during 3 victories was 17.3 degrees Celsius, significantly lower than the season average. Las Vegas was the coldest race. George Russell led every lap. Lewis Hamilton climbed from 10th to 2nd with ease. Then the circus moved to hotter races, and Mercedes vanished. The engineering explanation centers on thermal management. The W15's ability to heat tires quickly helps in cooler conditions, with lower track temperatures helping maintain them in the optimal window longer. When it's cold, other teams struggle to generate tire temperature. Mercedes doesn't. But when it's hot, those same characteristics cause overheating. Tires get too hot too quickly. Degradation accelerates. In cold races, Mercedes fights for wins. In hot races, they battle for 6th. Toto Wolff has been open about it. When asked about progress during 2025 testing, Wolff joked that given cold weather, Mercedes should be outperforming others significantly based on last season's pattern, but admitted that wasn't the case. Did Mercedes fix the temperature sensitivity and lose their cold weather advantage? Or does the weakness still exist? The 2025 calendar doesn't help. Most races run in warm or hot conditions. For Mercedes to challenge for championships, they need consistent performance across all conditions. Until they make their car work in the heat, their cold weather advantage remains more curse than blessing. Williams. Their hidden advantage isn't hardware, it's leadership. James Vowles took over as team principal in 2023 and immediately changed everything. He came from Mercedes' strategy department during their dominant era. He knows championship operations. Vowles didn't sugarcoat Williams' situation. He publicly admitted underperformance and laid out a rebuild plan, even accepting short-term pain. He stated that if cutting back on 2025 development to focus on 2026 results in finishing 6th or 7th, so be it. That's opposite to what struggling teams usually do. Vowles said we're building for the future. He convinced Carlos Sainz to join for 2025. Sainz, a race winner from Ferrari with other options, bought into the vision. Williams surged to 5th in the 2025 Constructors' Championship. The 2025 car benefited from rear suspension updates delayed for years. Williams' rear suspension is 2 years more advanced than 2024, when they ran the 2023 version from Mercedes. Williams shifted their entire development timeline. Instead of chasing incremental 2025 gains, they're all in on 2026. They cut back wind tunnel time for the 2025 car with no further upgrades planned. The team set the fastest lap time in 2025 preseason testing. Sainz admitted they hadn't made the step to fight top teams, but Williams made a big jump. The real advantage is Vowles' ability to identify what matters and execute. He's running Williams like a data-driven operation focused on getting back to the front. For a team that spent years at the back, having a leader who knows how to win makes all the difference. Aston Martin. Lawrence Stroll isn't playing small ball. Since taking over Aston Martin, he's invested hundreds of millions building a state-of-the-art factory and wind tunnel near Silverstone. Until recently, Aston Martin used Mercedes' wind tunnel, sharing facilities, working around someone else's schedule, dealing with logistics. Stroll changed that. Aston Martin's new Silverstone campus includes a cutting-edge wind tunnel, rivaling anything in the sport. The facilities lured top designers like Adrian Newey and Enrico Cardile from Red Bull and Ferrari. Newey is the most successful designer in F1 history, championship-winning cars at Williams, McLaren, and Red Bull. His arrival signals serious intent. He started work in March 2025 with significant influence on the 2026 car. The combination of world-class facilities and Newey's genius could be transformative. But there's a challenge. Aston Martin struggled in 2025, finishing 6th. The team appeared slow during testing, leapfrogged by Alpine and Williams. Team principal Andy Cowell admitted the AMR 25 does what drivers want, but appears slow. Heavy focus is already on 2026. Massive investment, long-term planning. But current performance hasn't matched ambition. The advantage Aston Martin has is time and money. Stroll's investment gives them resources most teams don't have. New facilities, Newey's arrival, focus on 2026. It's positioning for the regulation change. If Newey works his magic with new rules, Aston Martin could leapfrog the field. That's Stroll's bet. Build infrastructure, hire the best, invest long-term, wait for payoff. Alpine. It was a disaster for most of 2024. The team hit rock bottom, frequently at the back of the grid. Driver clashes, management chaos, Flavio Briatore's return, switching from factory Renault engines to customer Mercedes for 2026. A mess. Then something changed. Good technical signings and upgrades toward the end of 2024 gave the team momentum. That carried into 2025. Alpine's turnaround is night and day. 12 months ago, crisis. Now they're leading the midfield with Williams. Preseason testing showed a confidence-inducing car. Alpine is capable of fighting for fifth in the championship, the minimum a works team should achieve. Pierre Gasly's pace toward the end of 2024 was the turning point. The underperforming Renault engine remains an issue, but chassis work improved enough to make Gasly a high-order points scorer. Oliver Oakes took over as team principal and brought focus. The chaos subsided. Engineers could do their jobs. Alpine's advantage is momentum. When a team improves rapidly, that energy carries through the organization. Confidence builds. Engineers take risks. Drivers push harder. It's the opposite of a negative spiral. Alpine went from last to midfield leader in months. The challenge is sustaining it. Jack Doohan is a rookie needing time to settle. Endless speculation about driver changes exists, but Alpine has upward trajectory, belief they're on the right path, and results proving it. For a team that was written off months ago, that momentum is everything. Haas. It is the smallest team on the grid with baked-in limitations. Main headquarters in Banbury, UK. Design office in Maranello, Italy. Split operations create communication challenges. But Haas figured out how to punch above their weight through smart resource management. The Ferrari partnership is central. Haas uses Ferrari power units, gearboxes, and as many Ferrari components as regulations allow. That's not just parts, it's development bandwidth. When you buy a world-class gearbox from Ferrari instead of designing your own, you free engineers to focus elsewhere. Haas maximizes the customer relationship better than most. Based near Ferrari's design office in Maranello, facilitating collaboration. They share wind tunnel time with Ferrari. Access to Ferrari's facilities and expertise is worth millions in development costs. Haas had a strong 2024, nearly beating Alpine for 6th. Their driver lineup changed completely for 2025. Esteban Ocon and Oliver Behrman replaced Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen. During testing, Haas focused almost entirely on race stint preparation with heavy fuel loads. Lap times looked slow, but it was strategic, gathering data for race strategy while others chased headline times. Team principal Ayao Komatsu said they're in the ballpark. The advantage Haas has is doing more with less. Gene Haas now has funding to make full use of the budget cap without reaching into his own pocket. For a small team competing against factory operations with 10 times the staff, Haas's efficiency through the Ferrari partnership keeps them competitive. Not glamorous, but it works. RB Racing Bulls. They have become more of a Red Bull B team in 2025, and that's an advantage. The team uses as much of Red Bull's mechanical components as possible, including 2024 specification suspension and gearbox. That reduces headcount required to design and manufacture everything for an F1 car. Pure efficiency. RB still creates their own aerodynamic concept, but the mechanical platform comes from Red Bull. Interestingly, the V-Carb 02 seems to have a wider working window than sister team Red Bull. It doesn't have ultimate downforce, but as a team set up to bring on rookies, that's exactly what you need. A car that's easy to drive builds confidence. The V-Carb 02 was consistently good in the midfield, easy to set up, giving drivers confidence. Isaac Hadjar rose to the occasion when given his chance. The advantage of being Red Bull's junior team is access. Access to parts, data, knowledge, experience. When Red Bull develops new suspension, RB gets the previous year's version, better than most teams can design themselves. When Red Bull learns about tire management or aero concepts, information flows to RB. Regulations limit parts sharing, but the relationship provides benefits. The challenge for RB is identity. They're not trying to win championships. They develop drivers for Red Bull's senior team and score points where possible. Different mission than pure competition. But for what they're achieving, the B team model works. Yuki Tsunoda provides stability. He's probably looking to impress enough to move elsewhere, keeping him motivated. The integration with Red Bull gives RB resources beyond what their budget normally allows. Advantage built into the team's DNA. Sauber stake. It was the slowest team in 2024 and showed little improvement in 2025 testing. The C45 is living proof of how tightly packed the field is. On average, only 1.7% off the pace, around 1.4 seconds per lap, but enough to make it a backmarker. Nico Hülkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto are in for a long season. But here's what makes Sauber different. Audi is taking over. The 2026 regulation regulations bring new power units and chassis rules. Audi is coming in as a works manufacturer, building their own engines and running a full factory team. Sauber hasn't made clear progress from 2024 struggles, but that might be intentional. With Audi taking control and new regulations for 2026, the team is almost entirely focused on next year's car. Sacrificing 2025 performance to get 2026 right makes sense when building toward a complete reset. The car ran too stiff during testing, suggesting a narrow setup window. The baseline wasn't amazing, but focus isn't on 2025. It's whether Audi can hit the ground running in 2026 as a works team. The advantage Sauber has is backing. Audi is a massive manufacturer with deep pockets and technical expertise. They wouldn't enter F1 without believing they could compete. Investment coming into Sauber dwarfs what the team had before. New facilities, new staff, new engines, everything upgraded for the Audi era. The question is execution. Manufacturers entering F1 have mixed records. Some dominate like Mercedes in 2014. Others struggle for years. Audi's approach of taking over an existing team rather than starting from scratch should help. Sauber's infrastructure exists. Audi adds resources and ambition. Whether that translates to results in 2026 remains to be seen. But the transformation represents a long-term advantage, even if 2025 is painful.